I have quite a few things to update you guys on, but before we get into it though, I do want to let you guys know that this video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Please remember to be kind to everybody everywhere in your everyday life, in your home, in the grocery store, and especially in the comment section down below. Please do not show hate to anybody, anywhere. Good morning, my lovelies, my beauties, my friends. My name is Christina and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, thank you so much for clicking on this video. I really hope that you will subscribe, stick around, take a chance in hearing some things that I have to say. And if you are a returning subscriber, y'all already know, y'all are my babies. So good morning, good afternoon, good morning. How's everybody doing today? I hope you guys are all doing really well. So I've got some things to update you all on with the whole Bryan Kohberger situation. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, go and check out my Idaho playlist. Other than that, we're just gonna pick right on up like all of you guys are following along with me. So we all know that Bryan Kohberger was arrested on December 30th in connection with the 4 Idaho students. Now he was waiting to see a judge in Pennsylvania and he did waive his extradition. Remember how we were like wondering, was he gonna waive his extradition? Was he not? And I was really wondering if he was, because I've seen other cases where the person that has been arrested refuses to, but yet he did. Now get this. I heard a professional say the reason why they believe he waived extradition so quickly, and this is all just assumptions, all of this information that I'm talking to you guys about is very, very, very public information filtered through my unprofessional opinion. So please go do your own research, form your own opinion. Just don't be ugly to anybody anywhere. So I seen a professional say that the reason why he thinks that Bryan waived his extradition so quickly is because Bryan has to get back to Idaho in order to see what the probable cause is.
Read those documents and the sealed affidavits of probable cause. I definitely believe that one of the main reasons the defendant chose to waive extradition and hurry his return back to Idaho was the need to know what was in those documents. So that's a significant development.
And I did not know this. I thought maybe their lawyers could find out what it was there in Pennsylvania, but he has no idea what the probable cause is against him until he gets back to Moscow, Idaho. So he can have all the lawyers he wants, but they can't even really get to work until he gets back there. So he really did need to waive his extradition so they could start building the defense. Now, I don't know if y'all have seen, but a lot of us were wondering like how they got the DNA, because they're saying that they matched his DNA with the DNA that was found at the Idaho student's home. They're saying now that they found his DNA through a genealogy database, which I mentioned this to my friends. I was like, I wonder if, because we've seen that before. That's happened. And as a matter of fact, a lot of people say, don't do those 23andMe's, don't do those ancestry things because then the government gets your DNA. Baby, they've had my DNA since I was a teenager. But BTK, he was actually tracked down through his daughter's DNA. They were able to go into the database and find her DNA and find that it matched just close enough, and then they were able to figure out that it was indeed him. So they have all different types of ways to get your DNA. However, I do hope that they have already swabbed him. I would have to assume. I know here in the county jail in my county, the first thing they do is swab you and fingerprint you. I really hope that they got his DNA there, but I'm also hoping that the cops, because they're saying that the cops were following him and investigators were following him in Pennsylvania for 4 days. That's what they said. It could have actually been longer. For 4 days before they actually went in and arrested him. So hopefully they got some of his trash or got some DNA. I don't think that Bryan in the interrogation room would have slipped up and drank a soda, because you know they can do that. When they have you in this interview room or an interrogation room, they can offer you sodas or drinks. And if you drink it and throw it away in there, they can take that and use your DNA. However, I do believe Bryan is smarter than that because he has been trained in all of this. And this will be a good place to tell you guys, we still don't 100% know that Bryan is the guy. It seems like they have a good solid case against him. I'm going to find it super hard to believe that the Moscow police, with all of the attention that they've had on them, they've got some good evidence against him. Let's talk about him getting pulled over. He got pulled over. Bryan got pulled over on August 21st of 2022 at 11:40 p.m. for not wearing his seatbelt just a mile away from the Idaho student's home. So you just think about that time of night. He was out there, and he could have just been driving around. I'm just saying, like, you think about this, like, he got pulled over there, which this man gets pulled over a lot. Bryan asked his father to come to Idaho and drive with him that white Elantra back to Pennsylvania to his parents' house. But this is something I find strange. So the Moscow Police Department released a statement that they were looking for this 2011 to 2013 white Hyundai Elantra. They said that it had been seen in the area and that they were looking for this car. Now, this was on December 7th. Bryan and his father drove back to Pennsylvania on December 15th. Literally just the very following week. I'm going to be so curious to find out when they made plans for him to drive the car back to Pennsylvania. Was it after the police released a statement that they were looking for this car? Did he call his dad on the 7th or the 8th and say, "Hey, Dad, I'd really love to drive back to Pennsylvania. Would you fly here and drive with me?" Or was this something that they've had planned for 6 months? Like, that would be so beneficial to know. Because if Bryan called his dad, or if there's text messages to show that he asked his dad to come there and travel back anytime after they said that they were looking for this white car, that is going to look suspicious. And not to mention, the drive between the two states is 2,500 miles. So why in the world would Bryan have his father fly there just so he could drive that car back, unless he was trying to leave it at his parents' house so he could hide it? Because it would make the most sense if Bryan was going to go home and spend the holidays with his family for him to just fly home and fly back. But for him to have his dad fly all the way there and then drive back 2,500 miles, it seems like he was trying to hide the car. I don't know. It could still all just be a coinky-dink, but it's definitely strange. But that's not all. To make things even more strange, see, Bryan got pulled over in that white Elantra with his father riding with him on the way back to Pennsylvania twice in Indiana for following too close behind another vehicle. Come to find out, the FBI actually had the police in Indiana following him and pulling him over for little things. That way they could get videos of his hands and his arms. Unfortunately for them, his arms were covered up with long sleeves, but there is a couple pictures that does look like he could have had some healing cuts. Now, there are some other photos where it looks like there may not be cuts, but nevertheless, I'm pretty sure by now the jails that have had Bryan have done a full body inspection on him. Now, get this. So we just discussed the very odd timing of Bryan's deciding to leave and having his dad drive the car to Pennsylvania. Well, we all know that the slayings were on November 13th. For some strange reason, Bryan Kohberger changed his license plate on November 18th, just 5 days after the slayings. Now, that sure is a whole lot of coinky-dinks for an innocent person that had nothing to do with anything. You gotta admit, it sure does seem like he was hiding something. Bryan did in fact arrive to Idaho late last night, and it seems like the transportation people, the FBI and the sheriff department, are taking every precaution necessary to keep Bryan safe. They must have a feeling that somebody would want to do something to him. I mean, there's even a video of them placing a helmet on him, and we have seen him puffed up from wearing what looks like some sort of bulletproof vest under his clothing. They must be getting some sort of something that makes them feel like they have to take extra precautions. Nevertheless, Bryan was officially booked into the jail in Idaho. And now people are sharing this photo right here where they're zoomed in, and they are wondering if this is, again, a healed wound. I guess it will all come out in time, and we should be finding out what the probable cause is here pretty soon. Now, something else that is going to make this case very interesting, and I don't know if that's a good interesting or a bad interesting, because this is so high profile and basically the world is watching at this point. Bryan already has a legal team of allegedly 5 people. Now, Bryan's family said that they could not afford to hire him a lawyer, which would probably be astronomical. I could not even imagine. So the court appointed him a lawyer. Well, just like the situation with Casey Anthony, all of these lawyers seem to be coming out of the woodworks and they're ready to defend him. As a matter of fact, it's said that they've already been to the house before he was even transported. They've already been to the Idaho house, taking photos and videos, preparing his defense, seemingly before they even talked to him. I mean, I don't know. This is just me talking here, so go do your own research, form your own opinion. But I just hope this doesn't end up like another Casey Anthony situation. You know, lawyers are allegedly going to be wanting to take this case pro bono because it's going to give them a time to shine. And Bryan, no matter what, needs to have a fair trial. However, I hope at the end of this that it doesn't end up like a circus, like the Casey Anthony situation, and justice will be served, whatever that means. Either way, we'll all be here to watch. But anyways, I thought that that was interesting because he already allegedly has a 5-person defense. I'm really curious what all the probable cause is. I have to believe that they have good, strong evidence. In order for them to be able to arrest him, have them go into his parents' home, get a warrant to search the home, bring him back this quickly. Things are moving, boom, 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 boom. And for the chief of police from Moscow to stand so confidently and say this is their guy, I believe they've got something. Now, Bryan could have denied to give his DNA in Pennsylvania. I wonder if he did. This is the scary thing, is if he is the guy, and y'all are probably going to hear me say this multiple times throughout this situation. If he is the guy, he is smart. He has been studying this. He's been studying criminal minds. He's been studying the court process. And this could be one big game to him. It could be. And speaking of that, I actually saw this video last night from this lady on TikTok, and her name is Bridget. You guys feel free to go over there and follow her or watch her videos. But the whole first minute or so of this video, she talks about her credentials and her education. And she is very well educated in criminology and things of the sort. And she's interviewed past people in the same situation as Bryan and But she goes on to give her opinion, which she says she doesn't do a lot. And Bridget, if you ever see this, I hope you do it more because I found this very interesting. But listen to what her viewpoint and opinion is.
Bryan Kohberger has an educational background in psychology and criminology. I don't think his motivation to go for his PhD in criminology came from wanting to just be successful. I think he was totally obsessed with the criminal justice world, that he wanted to know anything and everything there was to know about it. When you're going for a higher level degree, it's not so much about memorizing a textbook. You have to analyze things, have discussions, write papers, and it is more about you explaining these concepts on a higher level versus memorization. And you will oftentimes maybe have an expertise in a certain arena in the criminal justice world. It's been reported that he was very interested in serial killers, and the Ted Bundy connection was easy to make from the beginning just because this happened on a college campus, the girls in the sorority. That's an easy connection to make. But what I think that people are missing is the intelligence aspect of Ted Bundy and Bryan Kohberger. So part of Ted Bundy's identity was he was regarded as a brilliant mind, that he was smart. Even the judge at the end of his trial, which he represented himself, and I think that's what something Bryan Kohberger is going to attempt to do. I think he's going to attempt to represent himself. The judge said, I'm sorry to see you in this position. You would have been a great lawyer. That was part of Ted Bundy. People saw him as somebody who was incredibly intelligent, this person who wanted to be an attorney. I think Bryan Kohberger, because he was a recluse, because he was not socially accepted, that he leaned into his intelligence to give himself a feeling of self-worth, and maybe even seeing it as, I'm better than you, I'm smarter than you. With all that being said, I don't think Kohberger was as smart as he let on. If you are somebody that is educated in criminology, you know it is extremely difficult to get away with a crime like this. the close contact of it with the DNA technology that's available today, the genealogy databases that police have access to today, I'll be curious what the motive is, just like anybody else. What was the motive behind this? Because if he really thought he was going to get away with this, I just don't think that there's any way you could reasonably think that.
It's going to be interesting. So what do you guys think? Let me know down below. One thing I do believe is if Bryan is the guy, he thinks he's smarter than anybody in the room. And we're going to see. Y'all let me know what you think down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Love you guys. Bye.